it is
Cat.
it orange cat? Is it a white cat, black cat?
It is a ragdoll cat,
What does
Oh,
that mean?
which has
they're
it has
cute.
puppy-like tendencies, and we
Touche.
might have a furry friend appearing in the background at some point.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh,
ragdoll
that's
cats
cute.
are termed, I believe they are termed ragdoll. It's been a while since I've read the cat breed book. Yeah, I have an encyclopedia of cat breeds, Cameron.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I'm
anyway,
aware.
ragdoll cat, super sweet, super loving.
Hey there, welcome back to the As I Understand It podcast, the discussion podcast about careers, young adulthood, and the evolving world we live in. I'm your host, Cameron Geddes.
And I'm your co-host, Graham Nesbitt.
And on today's episode, we are very excited to have Katie Trost back on. So thanks for joining us, Katie.
Hello.
Thanks, Katie.
And then we're on top of that, very unfortunate to did I say unfortunate? Very fortunate to have back Olivia Wood. So thanks for coming back in. Before we get started with our topics for today, we'll just reintroduce ourselves for those of you that are new. I'll go first. My name is Cameron Geddes. I just turned 25 and I graduated from
Hey.
Hope College. Yeah, exactly. I'm getting old. I feel like I'm getting old. Graduated in May 21 with degrees in economics and global studies. Right now I work as a food service data analyst for the market research firm Circana. I live in Milwaukee and enjoy weightlifting, playing video games, and stuff like that. Graham, would you like to go next?
Yeah, my name, once again, is Graham Nesbitt. I graduated from Wheaton College in 2021 with a bachelor's in psychology. I currently work as an addictions counselor in the Rockford region, and I enjoy all forms of media, video making, and streaming.
Nice. Thanks, Graham. Katie, do you want to refresh us on your background?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm Kate Trost. I graduated from Hope College in 2020, May of 2022, and I have a major in general business and a minor in classical studies just because I like Latin. Um, I actually got a new position, so now I'm the development and operations manager for Detroit Horsepower, which is a nonprofit that brings equestrian experiences to Detroit youth who wouldn't normally have those experiences and impairs their goals in the farm, goals in the classroom. As for stuff I like to do in my free time, I read, draw, really enjoy watching and reading movies.
Katie's a hobbyist. She has lots of little creative hobbies. But yeah, thanks, Katie. You want to introduce yourself, Olivia?
Sure. I'm Olivia Wood. I graduated from UW Milwaukee in 2021 with a degree in psychology, and I currently am a graduate student at UWM, graduating in August.
Yeah, thanks, Olivia. All right, I think we're ready to jump to our first topic of the day, which is how do you make community in the workplace? And I've got a stat here from the Harvard Business Review. It says, according to a global study by the International Social Survey Program, the ISSP, interpersonal/work relationships have a sizable and significant positive effect on the job satisfaction of the average employee. Relationships rank first out of the 12 domains of workplace quality and in terms of power to explain variation in job satisfaction. In increased productivity, profitability, job satisfaction, if those aren't enough, Gallup's latest findings show that since the start of the pandemic, having a best friend at work has an even greater impact on important outcomes like workers' likelihood to recommend their workplace, their intent to leave, and overall satisfaction. So Katie, I know you just started at your new company. Would you like to give your perspective first?
Yeah, absolutely, I can. The first thing I'm going to say is there's this sense of small talk in the workplace, and while small talk can be great, I absolutely hate it. And what I mean by that is I hate being asked, "How are you?" Because there isn't a gauge of how much time do you have, how much do you want to hear, like how much do you want to hear is going on in my life. And so I actually really hate asking that question because I know the response I would get is tired because it's short, it's sweet, it's true, I'm busy. Um, that being said, I'm more likely to ask about someone's hobbies. For instance, I have a coworker and we went to an expo for work. And doing that 2 hour car ride, hour and a half hour car ride, I learned everything from their scuba diving license to how they rate cupcakes in every single city they visit. And now I know the way to tell a good cupcake is you check their red velvet and you check their carrot cake. I believe it was also carrot cake. So I know a lot more about cupcakes than I did And it's, the more you learn about those things, it becomes interesting. And now I know what to ask. Oh, they went on an expo or they went on a trip. Did you try the cupcakes? Where did you go? What did you have? How does it rate compared to
Yeah.
other places you tried? I immediately have things I can ask that aren't just work. It's not just, hey, how'd it go with work? It's what else did you do that was enjoyable for you? That's the connections that I feel are more important in the workplace, even than the work itself. Because you truly have to get to know the person for them and not just their work ethic.
Yeah, I agree. Katie has a knack for um fishing the secret hobbies out of people. She will know more about your hobby than you do by the end of the week that you tell her about it. So, but I think she's got a point there. It's all about really getting to know people individually, and I think spending time to learn about their hobbies and demonstrate that you care about them as a person and that you see them as more than just like a coworker. That's a great way to build rapport, and I think it's much more authentic than um, just water cooler conversations that are surface level. So, but yeah, that's a good point made by Katie. Graham, would you like to go next?
Yeah. So one thing I think there's a couple layers to this. You need to do this like 4 times in a row, like consistently, like not just a one-off thing, but you're going to do this each day for like a week or something. Um, what you want to do is when you're going by your coworker's office, go by, just tell them a statement. You don't have to stay for very long. Tell them a statement, something that's happened, and then just go on with your day. Tell them something interesting, something like that happened, make them laugh, make them smile, and just, go by and do that. And then they'll get used to you stopping by. You don't always want to go to your coworker's office just to ask something from them. You want to
Yeah.
be able to see there and just, engage with conversation, not expect anything or want anything. Just, a nice fun fact, something funny that happened, something interesting that's going on. And oftentimes what they'll do is they'll tell you something that's going on with your life. You want to follow up with that a couple of days later, like, if they're going to an event in the city or they had a good meal, ask what they had that night. Everyone's got to eat, so it's always a fun, question just for building rapport. And uh, those little simple things can start to grow, and pretty soon they'll be stopping by your office. So good way to facilitate um, good positivity in the workplace.
It's a good
Yeah, I
point.
agree. And I'll follow up with that actually just a little bit. Um, so I work remote, which I may have said before in one of the other episodes, but it can be a little more difficult just because of the digital nature of it. That's definitely been a change compared to some of the previous like jobs and internships I've had. I mean, I've had jobs which were hybrid at one point or another. I work fully remote now. I had some internships where it was in person all the time. So definitely different styles of work and different workplace situations require a different approach. But I think even just making some extra time is really important. Like one thing that I try to do too is like if I'm starting a new position or if I'm working with new people on a particular project, try to go out of my way to set up like one-on-one calls with them and try to have very low barriers, like try to make extra time, at the end of business calls, if you have a quick question about something and or they do, and you kind of sit there and go through it. Once that's done, if they don't have anything pressing, and if you don't have anything pressing, it's good sometimes to just stay on for an extra few minutes and just recap how things are going. And I think also too, like being in with appropriate levels of honesty, talking about, not always positive stuff too. Like if something's frustrating you, or, if you had a bad weekend, if you're, um, if there's something on your mind too, like I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to talk with them about that and kind of lower your walls a little bit. I think it can help you come off as less artificial for you to, when appropriate, just talk about things that are important to you, and they don't always have to be immediately positive. And I think that's really what builds trust long term is when you have relationships where you can celebrate together and when you can, go through hardships together or work through things together. So that applies to digital and in-person work, being responsible about what you're talking about and not just being down for the point of it. So Yeah. Anything else you want to add to that, Olivia?
I would pretty much just echo what everybody said already. I think that like having that community and having friends in the workplace makes it easier when things do get stressful and you need help and you have built up that relationship of not just like the transaction, like you do this for me, I'll do this for you, but it's more of like a connection and a friendship, I think can make it a lot more bearable, more easier. So
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Well, good. I think we covered off on that. Go to my next topic I have pulled up. Next one is how should you manage imposter syndrome? So in 2020, a systematic review of 62 studies evaluated prevalence of imposter syndrome, showing prevalence rates as high as 56 to 82% in a mix of college graduates, graduate undergrad students, nurses, medical students, and other professions. Symptoms can include psychological distress, anxiety, depression, burnout, exhaustion, avoidance of high level or demanding tasks, rigid thinking, and dismissal of positive feedback. So that's a nice little stat on that for us to have for context. That also comes from the DCEG, which is the Division of Cancer Epidemiology and Genetics. So Graham, I think, would you like to go first about that?
Yeah, I can go over some things with that. The field I work in, like it's a lot of it is dealing with very hard situations and something that clients will frequently bring up or challenge you on is, you haven't lived the life that I've lived, you haven't seen what I've seen, which is true. Um, I think when you're first starting out in this kind of field, that might get to you more, but and it's not an easy thing to go through. It is something that's tough. So I would advise when going through similar situations is work at it. You do have a job to do. You are there to help them. But at the same time, being honest with where you're at. Yeah, I haven't lived your exact life and gone through what you've done, but I am here to help. And what's going to help me help you is for you to tell me, is to basically for you to help me understand what you're going through and what you need. Because, I'm not going to go through your life experience. At the same time, we have something to do. We are here to help you get better. I need you to help me understand how I can do that. So just working on honest communications with clients, understanding their needs. People will oftentimes, when you're first meeting with them, have this kind of fear that may build up, and it might build up to a point where there's anger or an outburst or something like that. It's usually just manifesting as fear. So helping a client understand that they are safe in the program, you're still going to be there for them, even if they're afraid or something like that happens, and just kind of easing those anxieties over time.
Yeah, that's a great point by Graham. It's definitely hard, I imagine, if you're working in mental health to um, really have authority enough to demand honesty from your clients without, feeling like you're interfering in their business or feeling like you're out of place since you don't know their particular day-to-day life. Like I can imagine that can be very tough. And from the patient's view too, I imagine it'd be difficult to really be able to be completely honest and accept that you're the patient in that scenario and that you're looking to get help. So tough pills to swallow for sure. Um, I guess I won't go too long on imposter syndrome because I think everyone feels it, and I feel like I have a lot of experience um, feeling imposter syndrome and feeling like I'm not really doing what I should be, or like I'm not really measuring up to some version of uh, what I should be. So I'll kind of keep it brief, but I think that really like the way that experts are created is by faking it till you make it. And everybody goes through that. And even some of the most accredited people out there, felt intimidated when they first started work, or like when they were going for their PhD, or um, applying for like super high level positions in government, or working in, I'm sure astronauts even, it's got to be tough to fully accept that you've been like selected out of a number of people and feel like you're not up to the task. So I'm sure that happens, but I think just being able to do a little bit at a time and set standards and kind of incrementally improve and feel that you're filling out your role is really important. It's often hard to get that confidence until you're in the mix. And I think that one of the ways to really avoid imposter syndrome is just try not to view so far into the horizon and do just a few incremental steps. Be like, okay, people who are very good or get promoted fast or who have lots of personal growth in this particular position, they tend to have these skills in common or they tend to have these traits in common. And just picking one of those and getting a foundational level of it, I think can start to dissuade a lot of that. So that's how I typically tackle it if there's something that I feel very fake about or feel like I'm not measuring up. Katie, you want to add anything?
I do. So I know for myself, a lot of it is remind myself they wanted you for a reason. Your skill, like I've gone back to the job description before, and I've gone through. It's like, okay, remember when you read this and you said you fit, A, B, C, D. It's like, yeah, you do fit this. Yeah, there's some things that on the job you're gonna have to learn. And the other thing I have to remind myself is I got hired 2 months before their annual gala. So their gala is actually this Friday. So I got hired on. And it was, wow, we're so have great. It's great to have you. You're going to be doing all these things. Oh, by the way, we have a gala. It's in May, and you're going to be helping with our auction site. And I was like, oh, okay. So I got hired right in the midst. And what was really nice about that, though, was my boss actually had the same scenario. She got hired in just a year prior to me. Same scenario of we have the gala, except for her, I think it was in a month. So it's nice to have someone who's empathetic to that situation and is, learn from their experiences to make it easier for me. That being said, it's a lot of reminders of it's okay, you're learning, it's really crazy busy because you're doing gala, you're doing your regular job, and you're, bonding with the youth, so that they feel comfortable talking to you and getting, news bites and so forth for our emails. It's a lot to take in one bit, and so I've been trying to chunk it away a bit at a time, but that doesn't mean I still get a little, oh my gosh, it's a lot. But it's the nice news is it's all coming along smoothly. It just feels like a lot.
Yeah, that's a good point, Katie. I know that you've definitely been kind of thrown into the middle of it, but I think they're lucky to have you and definitely I know that you big on the horse things. I think there's very few things they could ask you about to do horse wise that you wouldn't know how to do. So um but yeah, very common to look back on good skill to have to look back on your job application and see that you do tick all the boxes. What a good feeling. Anything you want to add on that, Olivia?
Yeah, I would say too, kind of going off of what Katie said, like in our field, like me and Graham are in mental health. I think it's also important, like seek supervision, go talk to your supervisor or talk to whoever you're answering to and just be like, hey, is there any concern on my performance? Is there something I should be working on? And in my experience, like the anxiety of feeling like you're not good enough outweighs when you go in there and they're like, no, or like there is one thing, but we can work on it. And it's usually a lot more manageable than it feels like. So that's just what I would add.
That's a very good point. Thank you, Olivia.
Yeah, that's great. I think you're very, very good points about like you have supervisors for a reason. Like
Yeah.
there's kind of a chain of command because that's um that's how you get better at things. That's how you seek advice and feedback without ruffling feathers. Um, it's great. Yeah, I
One
think
one
yeah, go
one
ahead.
quick comment on that before we go on to the next one. Especially for people who stay with a company for a while, everyone wants to be working with someone who has a lot of experience. But if you want to be an old worker with a lot of experience, you gotta be a young one without much experience. It's just how it goes. You will get there, but that's how you get experience, is just by doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point, Graham. Thanks. All right, well, then let's get to one other fun sort of practical question. What are some tips for managing your schedule? So according to homebase.com, they're an HR and scheduling platform. So obviously kind of something they're very interested in. The American Psychological Association reports that 20% of adults regularly delay tasks, affecting their efficiency. Research by Zippia reveals that 82% of individuals lack an effective system for managing their time, leading to 51% of the workday being allocated to less valuable activities. Businesses in the US face annual losses of approximately $588 billion due to distractions in the workplace. Individuals typically experiment with 13 different methods for managing their time, yet only 18% adopt these techniques. So that's a good stat on, kind of the costs of not having your schedule buttoned down. Olivia, I know you're balancing a lot of different commitments right now. Would you like to give some insight into how to do that?
I sure would. Yeah, like I said, I'm in grad school, so I'm doing my classes, I'm doing an internship through school, and I'm also doing a job on the side to pay bills. So it can be super, super challenging and really stressful at times to like make sure you have everything written down, make sure you're not missing anything. Um, and I would just say too that like it's okay to be stressed out about it, and it's okay not to have everything perfectly well oiled and figured out. Like I think at the end of the day we're humans and that kind of stuff is normal. At the same time, time management can be super helpful in like reducing some of that anxiety and stress and just finding what works for you. For me personally, I write everything down. Like I have a little planner where I write down work times, like what I need from the store that day, what I'm doing that day. Like I think that just kind of helps to keep everything cohesive and buttoned up. But yeah, just finding what works for you and um taking advantage of the resources that are available to you.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll add on to that too, that I found some practical things for like documenting it and getting it down visually. The king of organizational charts, in my opinion, is the Eisenhower matrix, which is a little 2x2 grid of important, not important, urgent, not urgent. And then if you place your tasks that you have within there, obviously starting with important and urgent, then going to urgent, not important, then doing important, not urgent, and then the fourth box of neither important nor urgent. Like just, I think that out of all the charts out there for management, I think that one's the best because it's the most, you can do other charts, but you really need that one to know what to do. Like that's always going to be the most essential is figuring out what to do and when. It doesn't matter how long things take or like what the different key timeline moments are. The being able to take it one day at a time, that's like the essential one. So, in my opinion, and just doing that in combination with for more elaborate projects, trying to cross thread them um, in like however your organizational system is. Like if you have like three different notebooks, two different websites, and an Excel spreadsheet that tracks some big project, you should try to find a way to cut those down. So like putting your notebook notes inside the Excel or like putting those inside of the project tracker. The more condensed you can make a project with fewer places you have to get in place information, the faster it's going to go because you're cutting down on that administrative time. So that's, I think, a practical tip. Graham, would you like to go next?
Yeah. So this, say the question prompt one more time for I had
Yeah,
an idea
tips
on that.
for managing your schedule.
Okay. So in my experience, when you first start out your day, that's when your productivity is going to be at its maximum. There have been a lot of instances where I'll have to stay after work to get some stuff done, and just the ratio of productivity to time spent in the office late at night is not going to be the same at the start of the day. It's probably going to take 2 hours for the same 1 hour or even less of work. So more time's going to go by and less is going to get done, the less energy you have. So having sort of building off of what you just said, get your most important tasks done at the start, because it's gonna be a slog the longer the day goes on. You're not gonna be able to do as much in the same amount of time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Also,
go ahead.
just if you have to, avoid working late. If you have to, just go home, come in a little bit early if you need to get stuff done, because you're going to get a lot more done in the morning when you're fresh. Same with a lot of things in life, whether it's studying or whatnot. You need sleep. You can't do much without sleep.
Yeah, we've talked at length before about Graham has improved in his pursuit of proper sleep compared to when Graham and I first knew each other. So very proud of him for kneeling to the god of sleep and respecting it by getting enough time sleep. So, Katie, anything to add on scheduling? Oh
Yes.
God, under 3 hours, preferably.
Yeah, but it's fine. Obviously, Cameron, you know this because my family's the Trost family. It's just what we do. But this is how you know I was raised by boomer parents. So like, I absolutely love the Franklin Day Planner. Stephen Covey also swears by the day planner. You know, the guy who wrote what 7 Habits for highly effective living people. Love that book. So one of the things I love about the Franklin Day Planner is the chart you mentioned, the Eisenhower chart, which I'm aware of. I know it. I like it. It's great. What I love about the Franklin Day Planner is I separate my work tasks and I separate my personal tasks, and I do that
Yeah.
daily. But then I have the monthly calendar, and that's where I put all my appointments. As soon as I have an appointment, I write it in there. It is in there. I know it's there. Great. But every single day, I get to look through what I like. Let's say I come in on Monday. Okay, I come in on Monday. I'm fresh and ready for work. I look at Friday and I look at the tasks that I didn't get done or are partially done. If they're partially done, they have a dot by them. If they're done, they have a check mark by them or a line just gently through them so I can still read it. And then if I forward it to someone else, like someone else's task, I do like a little, almost like a backspace arrow, and I put the initials of the person I'm supposed to follow up with. So I can go and check in and see how they're doing. Do they need support? And if it's something I'm just forwarding, like it's not going to get done today, I just do a little arrow forwarding it. I go and I look and I see, oh, if I have something that's forwarded, is this the first time I forward it? Is this the second time I forward it? If it's the third time, then I probably don't need to do it. It was probably a nice to have, not a need to have. The first thing I do that Monday, look at those tasks, then I letter them. I have my A's, they have to get done today. My B's, it'd be nice if they get done today. It's okay if they get done like Tuesday or Wednesday. C's, not that important. If I forward them more than twice, they probably get slashed out, or I need to check in with another team member and see if that's actually something that aligns more with them. D's, they're really, really nice to have so you can get to them. But A's, I label them A1 through like A3. Anything that's more than an A3, that's a B. That's a fake A. And that's how I prioritize and get stuff done.
I love
And
that.
it's been an
That is
absolute
I
lifesaver.
need that in my life.
You can look it up. I would highly recommend looking at the Franklin Day Planner website. They have it all there.
Yeah, that's true. Well, having a system of hieroglyphics is it can be helpful to have your own proprietary system. But I think we're about good on time today, actually. So appreciate everyone making some time to hang out, come on the podcast, and talk about some little organizational things. So yeah, I think that's all for today. Thank you again to our guests, Katie Trost and Olivia. And of course, thanks to wonderful co-host Graham Nesbitt. And yeah, you can find us on Apple Podcasts and YouTube. And we'll see you back in about 2 weeks with some new guests, maybe. So, all right. Thanks. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.